Some stories haunt you forever. Lives cut short in the most horrifying, unimaginable ways, from chilling encounters with the world's most twisted serial killers.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
To brutal animal attacks straight out of a nightmare. This is more than just a list. It's a deep dive into the darkest corners of reality, where fate meets fear and survival is a distant dream. These aren't just American stories. We're going worldwide, exploring terrifying tales from every corner of the planet. Each story is more horrifying than the last, with harrowing twists that make you question how fate can be so merciless. Welcome to people who died in the most horrifying ways you can imagine. What's more terrifying than realizing you're trapped with a sadistic killer and there's no way out? 14-year-old Regina K Walters learned this in the most horrifying way when she fell into the clutches of Robert Ben Rhodes, known as the truck stop killer. He was a long-haul trucker who turned his rig into a mobile torture chamber. In February 1990, Rhodes abducted Regina and her boyfriend, who was killed almost immediately. But for Regina, the nightmare was only beginning. Rhodes held her captive for weeks, photographing her in terrifying poses, including the now infamous image of her standing in a barn, barefoot and visibly terrified. Her final moments were filled with unimaginable terror before he strangled her with a wire. Rhodes was eventually caught, but nothing could undo the suffering he caused. Regina's last photo still chills investigators to this day. Rest in peace, little sweet Regina. You will be dearly missed. While Regina's story exposes the horrors of human evil, our next case reminds us that even in the safety of modern Europe, an ordinary bike ride can turn into a nightmare beyond imagination. What starts as a routine bike ride can become a fight for survival, with no one coming to help. On September 29th, 2017, 25-year-old Anne Faber went for a bike ride through the Dutch countryside, planning to return to her boyfriend Nathan Fitter's house. Around 4:30 p.m. she set off, expecting a peaceful ride. But by 7:45 p.m., her phone stopped responding to messages, showing only a single checkmark on WhatsApp. Concerned, Fitter posted a desperate plea on Facebook, shared over 54,000 times. She was supposed to come back to my place. Everything points to that. But she hasn't read any of my messages since 7:45 p.m. There's no sign of her. I fear the worst. His worst fears came true. Anne's path crossed with Michael P., a convicted sex offender on probation. According to Michael, they accidentally collided while he was riding his uninsured scooter. He helped her up and asked if she was okay, but panicked when she mentioned calling the police. Desperate, he forced her into the woods. Anne fought with every ounce of strength she had, refusing to give up. Despite her fierce resistance, Michael P. overpowered her and forced her onto the back of his scooter. He drove toward a remote area near the Soesterberg Air Base, likely trying to avoid any witnesses. At one point, a cyclist passed nearby, giving Anne a final chance to cry out for help. Panicked and desperate to avoid being caught, Michael grabbed his knife in a frantic attempt to silence her. The situation tragically escalated, ending with fatal injuries to her throat. In court, he confessed to raping and killing Anne, but insisted it wasn't premeditated. He blamed drugs, panic, and suppressed rage from past trauma. The judges questioned inconsistencies, how he managed with his severely injured hands, and why Anne's clothing showed no traces of his blood. His only answer: maybe the rain washed it away. Anne's brutal murder shattered the Netherlands, exposing critical flaws in the justice system. Her tragic end forced the country to rethink how it handles violent offenders on probation, ensuring her death would not be in vain. Rest in peace, dear Anne. Anne's story was one of trust betrayed. But sometimes it's not trust that kills. It's being in the wrong place at the worst possible time, as our next story reveals.
woman, a drunk driver, accused of killing a bride on her wedding night, slamming into the golf cart, carrying the bride and groom.
Imagine the happiest day of your life turning into the last. On April 28, 2023, Samantha Miller and her new husband, Arik Hutchinson, were leaving their wedding reception in a golf cart, still wearing their wedding attire. Their joy was shattered when Jamie Lee Komorowski, driving at 65 miles per hour in a 25 miles per hour zone with a blood alcohol level 3 times the legal limit, crashed into them. The impact hurled Samantha from the cart, killing her instantly. Arik survived but suffered severe injuries, including brain trauma and broken bones. Komorowski pleaded guilty to charges including felony DUI causing death and reckless homicide.
Sorry I am, and that I take full responsibility for my actions.
She was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum penalty for her crimes. In court, she expressed deep remorse, stating, "I will live the rest of my life with intense regret for what happened that night." Samantha's death reignited debates over drunk driving laws and left her family shattered. Her father, Brad Warner,
"For the rest of my life, I'm gonna hate you. And when I arrive in hell and you come there, I'll open the door for you,"
expressed enduring hatred toward Komorowski, while Arik continues to grapple with the profound loss of his wife just hours after they said, "I do."
I do remember the last thing I remember her saying was she wanted the night to never end.
While Samantha's tragedy stemmed from another's reckless choice, our next story shows how thrill seekers chasing adventure can fall victim to nature's unforgiving forces. For adrenaline junkies, few thrills compare to the rush of base jumping, unless something goes catastrophically wrong. Amber Bellows, a 28-year-old base jumper from Salt Lake City, was passionate about extreme sports. On February 8, 2014, just 2 weeks after marrying fellow enthusiast Clayton Butler, the couple set out to conquer Mount Kinnisava in Zion National Park, despite base jumping being illegal there. After a strenuous hike to the 7,276-foot summit, Amber prepared to leap into the void. As she stepped off the cliff, her parachute failed to deploy properly. Clayton watched in horror as she plummeted approximately 2,000 feet to the rugged terrain below. Desperate, he jumped after her but couldn't reach her in time. It took him over 2 hours to navigate the treacherous landscape and alert park officials. Due to the remote location and approaching darkness, recovery teams waited until daylight to retrieve her body. Amber's tragic death marked the first base jumping fatality in Zion National Park and underscored the extreme dangers associated with the sport, even for seasoned jumpers. Her passing left the adventure sports community mourning the loss of a vibrant and daring individual. While Amber faced nature's raw power, our next story involves a daring pilot whose need for speed sent him spiraling toward an untimely end. What happens when thrill-seeking goes too far, even for a sports legend? On November 7, 2017, Major League Baseball star Roy Halladay, a 2-time Cy Young Award winner, took his new Icon A5 aircraft for a solo flight near Newport Richey, Florida. Halladay, a passionate pilot, performed extreme aerial maneuvers including steep climbs and dives just above the water's surface. Witnesses watched in awe until tragedy struck. During a risky maneuver, his plane plunged into the Gulf of Mexico at high speed, killing him instantly.
I can tell you, sadly, it has turned into a recovery. We recovered one body. It was a 2-passenger plane, but I can confirm there's only one body involved. And it's sad to say it's a friend of ours. It's Roy Halladay.
Toxicology reports later revealed he had high levels of prescription drugs, including opioids and amphetamines, in his system. The combination of drugs and dangerous stunts proved fatal. Roy Halladay was just 40 years old, leaving behind a legacy of excellence and a tragic reminder that even heroes can fall from the sky.
I didn't know how big my heart was until I felt the amount of hurt in it with him gone.
But let's be real. Using drugs is already reckless, as we've covered in some of our other videos. But deciding to climb into the cockpit of a plane while under the influence? That's beyond dangerous. It's just plain stupid. No amount of experience or talent can save you from choices like that. While Roy's fate was sealed by his own risky choices, our next story involves a seemingly harmless act that turned deadly, all in pursuit of the perfect selfie. How far would you go for the perfect selfie? In May 2015, 18-year-old Anna Ursu and a friend climbed onto the roof of a stationary train in Iași, Romania, hoping for a dramatic, Instagram-worthy photo. But they underestimated the deadly power above them, a 27,000-volt live wire running across the train's roof. As Anna lifted her leg for a playful pose, she unknowingly entered the live wire's electrical field. Even without touching it, the massive electric charge arced toward her, engulfing her body in flames. Horrified bystanders could only watch helplessly. Anna's friend, who was also on the train but farther from the wire, survived and later told investigators that they were trying to take the ultimate selfie and hadn't realized how dangerous the situation was. Anesia Iliescu, a spokesperson for Bucharest Burns Hospital where Anna was transferred, described the devastating impact. Her whole body was burned. Despite doctors' best efforts, Anna succumbed to her injuries soon after. Her tragic death serves as a haunting reminder of how chasing internet fame can have deadly consequences. Sometimes the perfect photo isn't worth the ultimate price. Anna's search for the perfect picture turned fatal. Our next story follows another deadly selfie attempt, this time from a terrifying height. Sometimes one wrong move is all it takes. On October 12, 2018, Sandra Meedo, a 44-year-old Portuguese mother of two and teacher, stood on the edge of a high-rise balcony in Panama City. With her back to the city skyline, she leaned against the rail, stretching her arm to capture the ultimate selfie. But as she adjusted her phone, a sudden gust of wind caused her to lose her balance. Onlookers below watched in horror as Sandra fell 27 stories to her death. One witness recording the incident can be heard shouting, "She's mad, there she goes, look at her, she's fallen." Her tragic fall was caught on video, sparking global conversations about the risks people take for social media validation. Sandra's life ended in a split second, a chilling reminder that one careless moment can have irreversible consequences. Sandra's story is a stark warning about living life on the edge. But sometimes danger isn't self-inflicted, as our next tragic case reveals, involving a deadly fall no one saw coming. One misstep can change everything. On April 13, 2019, 20-year-old Andrea Norton, a student at Briarcliff University, was on a class trip to Hawksbill Crag in Arkansas's Ozark National Forest, a stunning cliff known for its breathtaking views and popular with hikers and photographers alike. While posing for a group photo on the edge of the rocky outcrop, Andrea repositioned herself for a better angle. In that fleeting moment, she lost her balance and fell 100 feet into the rocky canyon below. Her classmates could only watch in helpless horror. Newton County Sheriff Glenn Wheeler later described the area as beautiful but dangerous, noting that many visitors underestimate the risks while taking photos at the cliff's edge. Andrea was remembered as an environmental science major, a dedicated student, and a beloved member of her university's volleyball team. Her tragic death serves as a heartbreaking reminder that even the most beautiful places can be unforgiving when caution slips, if only for a second. While Andrea's fall was a tragic accident, our next story plunges into the darkest depths of human cruelty, a horrifying ordeal that lasted 44 days. Some crimes are so brutal they defy comprehension. 17-year-old Junko Furuta was a bright and ambitious high school student in Misato, Saitama Prefecture, Japan. On November 25, 1988, she was abducted by 4 teenage boys: Hiroshi Miyano, 18, Joe Ogura, 17, Minato Nobuharu, 16, and Yasushi Watanabe, 17. Miyano, the ringleader, had a history with the Yakuza and targeted Junko after she rejected his romantic advances. They held her captive in Minato's family home in the Ayase district of Adachi, Tokyo, for 40 days. During this period, Junko was subjected to relentless physical and sexual abuse, including beatings, starvation, burns, and other forms of torture. Despite opportunities for rescue, such as visits from Minato's family members who were aware of her presence, no one intervened. On January 4, 1989, after losing a game of Mahjong solitaire, the boys escalated their brutality. They beat her with an iron barbell and set her legs, arms, face, and stomach on fire after dousing her with lighter fluid. Junko succumbed to her injuries the following day. To conceal their crime, the perpetrators placed her body in a 55-gallon drum, filled it with concrete, and disposed of it in Koto, Tokyo. The perpetrators were arrested and tried as juveniles, receiving sentences ranging from 4 to 20 years. Many viewed these punishments as shockingly lenient, given the brutality of their crimes. The case ignited debates about Japan's juvenile justice system and remains one of the nation's most infamous criminal cases. Sweet Junko, rest in peace. Junko's fate revealed the darkest side of humanity. Our next story is about a different kind of deadly encounter, one where nature's most dangerous predator struck with lethal precision. Even the most experienced handlers aren't safe from nature's fiercest creatures. On April 15, 2016, 38-year-old Stacy Conweiser, the lead zookeeper at the Palm Beach Zoo, entered a restricted area of the tiger enclosure alone, a practice typically avoided for safety reasons. She was preparing for a public tiger show when Hati, a 12-year-old male Malayan tiger, attacked her, delivering a fatal bite to her neck. According to the autopsy report, Stacy suffered a fractured spine, a lacerated jugular, and severe neck injuries. Before the deadly encounter, she reportedly screamed for help into her radio. Tragically, there were no cameras in the night house, the enclosed area where the attack occurred, keeping the incident out of public view. Hearing her desperate calls, co-workers rushed to the scene, only to find the tiger standing over her bloodied body. Despite the severity of the situation, the zoo chose to tranquilize the tiger instead of shooting it, sparking public outcry. Many questioned the decision, arguing that Stacy's life should have been the first priority. Zoo spokesperson Naki Carter defended the zoo's response, but acknowledged that the medical examiner's report contained what we believe to be inaccuracies. Incidents like Stacy's death underscore the inherent dangers of working closely with wild animals. Tigers remain apex predators with instincts that cannot be entirely suppressed, even when raised in captivity. Their natural behaviors will always pose risks to those who care for them. These stories remind us how fragile life can be, and how quickly the unexpected can become reality. But there are still many more chilling tales left to uncover. If you want to hear more about the world's darkest, most terrifying fates, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Drop a comment below with the scariest story you've ever heard. Who knows? We might cover it next. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon in our next video.